What's up guys, how's it going? In this video, I'm doing the last session breakdown for my EP, and I'm going to show you how I produced, mix, and mastered my song, Paper Planes. I'm going to show you the first voice memos and demos that I ever recorded for the song, and I would turn that into the final mix and master, so stick around to see how I did that. So, the first voice memo I found of this song, I recorded on August 2nd, 2023, and I recorded on my old tablet. That's why the quality is really, really bad. Another thing to note is that the recording app I was using would cut out parts of the audio for no reason, so just try to ignore that. Here's that voice memo. Has the same intro as the song now.
Want to play in the rain. Fun's just begun. Once you're done, write your name.
So that's all basically the same as the final song.
Frozen.
Here's where the lyrics are different.
On my face clears away the remains, making no one to blame. Play on game, gave away.
So that's all I'll play of that one. And then the only other voice memo thing I have was an idea for the instrumental.
No one to blame.
So now I have an old demo of the song to play that I made when I first got Logic. It was one of my first songs I ever made with Logic. You'll hear that it's the same concept for the production. I ended up just reproducing it when I decided it was going to be for the EP. Here's what that sounds like. The vocals are really bad.
Washed away in the rain. Write your name.
You hear that part's the same in the final production basically.
Wait in line
Same arrangement, I just reproduced
to
it.
escape. Make it. No one to blame. Play the game. Standing here, paper smears fly out.
That was the original stack leading to the chorus. So I knew what I was trying to do, but I just did not know how to do it. And for the final song, way better. So now I'll actually jump into that session and I'll show you how I produce the song. So this is the Paper Plane session. I'll start off with the instrumental and then I'll show you how I did the vocals and then the mixing and the mastering. So the verse starts off with these two pianos laid together. We have this one. And we have this one. So I got these both from this amazing piano plugin, Unicorda. By themselves, they sound kind of thin, but you layer them together, it makes it a lot more full. The whole first half of the song is basically just piano, except for a few extra things. We have when I sing "In the Rain," we have this really quiet hit over here, and then right before the chorus, we have this pulsed bass. Got that from Alchemy. And then along with that, we have this ocean pad. It's just a really bright pad. Then the first chorus, we add some stuff. So we have these strings here. Cinematic frozen strings. We have this bass. then we have this other bass too, the glide bass. So it has more of like the high end, and then the wide sub bass is like the lows. So they make like one really nice bass. And we have a little like glide here. At this part we have like a hit. So we have this like reverse here. And then we have these two layers for the hit. We have this one. It's from the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin, like the free one. And then we have these hits from this plugin. Really big. So those together sound like this. And then we have this part. So we have this like ride cymbal. And like a little hi-hat. And then we have this like snare thing. Like a snare roll thingy. So those together makes like a cool fill into the next section. And then we have this like electric bass from Prime Bass. We also have this like organ thingy, which I have this sick plugin from Safari Pedals, Flamingo Verb, and I have the blend at 100%, so it's only the reverb, it's none of the actual sound. The last thing we add in this course is this extra piano. So the second verse is where it really starts to build up. We have all those pianos together. We have more of that electric bass. We have a distorted sub bass here. That's sidechained to the kick. So it has like a pulse. We have these strings. Then there was this really like weird vocal thingy that I made in the original session, like the demo. And I thought it was really cool, so I put it into the final song. Sick. I just processed the vocals like really weirdly, but it really adds something cool to the background. We also have more strings here. It's really nice, adds like a good ceiling to the instrumental. We have this pulsed organ that really helps to fill it out. This is from the Native Instruments tone wheel organ. We have this violin spiccato melody. The Spitfire Studio strings. And then the second half, it's 2 octaves playing. Leading to that second half, we have this Halloween synth. It has that like spooky vibe. Forgot to mention, starting in the first half, we have this ocean pad. Anyways, back to the second half, we have these Mellotron violins. The stock Logic Mellotron plugin. Really sick. And then here the reverb comes in. Throughout the entire verse, we also have this kick. So this is the first instrumental, and then in like the end of the verse, a lot of stuff comes in and it builds up and it's really crazy. So we have this. Sick. So leading into the chorus, we have these strings come in. Really nice. We have like a portamento. We have a violin 2 here, which is like lower. Really nice. So good. The studio strings by Spitfire Audio, insane. And then we have our viola, which is doing like a harmony. So all those together sound like this. We also have the drums build up, so we have these snare rolls. They get like louder. And I'm like filtering the highs and then I let the highs back in. And then these metal hits. And then I bounced down my drum groove from the chorus and I put it here and then had it fade in with reverb. And then I have the filter that comes off. And it gets like drier there. We also have our tom fill. We add these violins. We have this violin glissando. And we have a big like snare hit. So, and to make that even more like impactful, we have this. So those together. And then we also have a cymbal swell. Reverb on it. And it's like sidechain to the kick. So the whole build-up sounds like this. Then we add the chorus where we add our drum groove. So we have the kick. We have like an acoustic kick. Along with our other kick. We have an acoustic hi-hat. Studio drummer. We have our main snare. And then like a flam one. So it switches off. And then we have like a snare fill. And then we have our toms. And then all that with the metal hits and the high hits sound like this. We add like a violin ceiling. Then at the end of the chorus we have this. So we have like a tubular bell sound from the BBC Symphony Orchestra. And then this like reversed electric piano with like reverb and delay on it. Then I wanted it to suck into the outro, so I have this reversed rim. And I have this riser. Super epic. So everything leading into the outro sounds like this. I love that string in the background. So I automate the volumes of like all the instruments in the chorus to like cut off in the outro so it sounds like really clean. Except I just have my kick. I have like one kick hit. Just as like the downbeat. And we go back to just those two piano layers from the beginning. With this like violin pitch bend thing from the stock Logic strings. Really like creepy almost. I thought it made it like really interesting and moody. So at this part, the volume's cut off. Then we have like a riser, two risers, and then this. So for the risers, we have this one, and then we have this really quiet one, like really, really quiet. And then we have this part. We go back to these two pianos. We have our extra piano. And a kalimba hit. So those together help like lead into it. And we have our violin pitch bend thing again, but really quiet. We have our ocean pad come back in with like a pitch bend. So it goes like this. And then kind of like fades out. Love that like roll in the piano. And then we have the low piano hit. And it kind of just fades out. And then at the end we have it suck in again with the same riser that we used here. So that's the entire instrumental. Now I'll move on to the vocal production. So the vocal production for the intro and the first verse is really, really simple. We just have our lead. Really nice. It's like really soft.
No one to blame, washed away in the rain.
In some parts of the verse, we have like whispers. Just makes it feel like super up close.
Just be
We have this ad lib. At this part, we have a really quiet harmony. We have our reverb throw. And then it's just the lead vocal and some whispers until the second verse. Starts off just lead, then we have some other stuff coming in. So still just lead, but here in the second half, we have doubles come in, and we also have like a low harmony. Now with the lead sounds like really sick.
standing here, paper spears.
We have this ad lib,
I'm standing here,
and then here
spears fly at me,
we have a huge stack. So we have all of these.
fly at me, fly at
Just doubling the lead.
fly at me, fly at me.
Then we have all these, which is like singing it in weird voices and like far away from the mic to add like a crowd effect.
Fly at me,
And then we have like a really high one,
fly at me.
which I didn't really sing the best, but it sounds really good in context. Then we have our vocals in the chorus. So we have our lead,
Turn the tide,
doubles,
turn the page.
we have ad libs,
Oh yeah, turn the tide. Oh yeah, turn
then we have our low harmony,
the tide. Turn the page.
we have all these extra harmonies here,
Turn the tide.
singing like weird voices also.
Turn the page.
Then we have our chord stack, which is like singing the chord out in different notes. We have the bass of the chord,
Turn the tide.
third of the chord,
Turn the page.
and the fifth of the chord.
Wait in line to escape.
This just adds like a lot of beef to the vocals and makes them sound like really, really full. Then at the end, we have this, like accenting that harmony. We also accent the hey melody here with like another crowd stack. And then at the end of the chorus, we have this echo, so it goes to escape. Hey. So we have like a little stack here that echoes. So all the vocals in the chorus together sound like this.
Turn the tide. Turn the page. Wait in line to escape.
Then we go back to the outro. So we just have our lead, and then like an ad lib harmony. It's like really quiet. We also have our whispers. Just makes it like really crispy. And then we have this part. And then we have a whole new stack here. So for the stack, we have the lead, we have our whispers, and then we have all the harmonies. So we have this, we have this one, this one. I'm singing them like really breathy. We have these, even higher, and then we have a bass note. Really nice. So all this together. They're super like dissonant and clashy, and I really liked how that sounded. We also have this ad lib. And then we have like the humming outro, which I just heard in my head and I wanted to put in. So it's this. The only other thing I have vocal wise is that I took the delay from the lead vocal in like the demo project and I put it in here to add some cool like ambient stuff. It just adds like random sounds, but it makes it like interesting. That is everything I did for the vocals. So now we're moving on to some of the mixing stuff I did. The first thing I'll show is my vocal chain, which is basically the same vocal chain I use in like all my songs. I'll just adjust it a little bit. We have our EQ, taking out some of these frequencies and like unnecessary lows. We have our first compressor, de-esser, second compressor. We have this plugin called Fresh Air, which just makes it brighter. We have two delays that are just on the track, but they only come in around here and here. Then we have the buses. So we have this chroma verb that's just like a really short decay time, just to add like warmth to the vocal. We have our actual reverb, which is round. We have a compressor on the reverb and a de-esser, just to make sure that the sibilances on the reverb aren't too like crazy. And that's basically the vocal chain for like all the vocal like layers. Some of them have a little more dry than others, like the low harmonies I usually will make more dry. It's just that if they're all like super wet, it'll start to get like muddy. I'll quickly talk about the automation for the song. On the lead itself, we have some volume automation stuff, just like boosting the volume of stuff if it needs to get boosted. And then we have all like the delay automation from these plugins. We also do like a lot of automation on the delays and reverbs, just making them like louder and quieter, the decay time, just making sure that like each phrase like has the amount of reverb and delay that I want it to. It just makes the arrangement like flow and be interesting. And that's most of like the mixing stuff for the vocals. So now we'll do the instrumental mixing and then mastering. A really big thing I did for the instrumental mixing is that I have this dynamic EQ on the entire instrumental stack to make sure that the mids don't conflict with the vocals. The second chorus, for example, you have this frequency range like getting ducked, which if you look at the vocals under an EQ, that's where a lot of the vocals sit. So that just makes sure that the song doesn't get like too muddy and cluttered. Also, to have that same effect, we're taking out some of like the mids on the main piano. Another good thing to mention is that I didn't want this like string stack to conflict too much with the vocals. So I have EQ on them, taking out a lot of lows and some of the highs too. So that's most of the main mixing stuff I want to point out. If you have any other questions about the mixing or anything like that, just leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. Now I'll move on to the mastering. Here's the mastering session. I mastered everything in the EP in one session to make all the volumes consistent. Paper Plane specifically, since it's like a really dynamic song, it starts off really quiet and gets like really loud in the chorus and then goes back to quiet. It was hard to like make it as loud as the other songs. And when I would try to like squeeze it a little bit to get more volume out of it, it would just take the life out of it. So it ended up just being like a little bit quieter than the other songs. We have a pretty similar mastering chain for all the songs on the EP. We have a dynamic EQ, which lowers these frequencies when they pass like a certain threshold. We have the imager, so we're making the bass more mono. Then like the lower mids more stereo. Then like the higher mids and some of the high end also more stereo. And then like the really high end, we're making a little more mono. Then we have another EQ, just making the whole song a bit brighter. And then we have our exciter, which is basically like saturation and distortion only applied to like certain bands. So we only really apply it to like the high mids. And then the like really high end. It just helps to make the song more like colorful. It also allows me to like add saturation and distortion to just like the high end and the higher mids without saturating like the lower mids and low end. Then we have a compressor doing parallel compression. So I have the mix knob like really low, basically blending like the compressed signal with the uncompressed signal, and it helps to boost the volume of the quieter parts a little bit. Then we have our clipper just bringing up the overall volume of the song. We have another EQ just making it even brighter. And then we have our maximizer, which is the limiter, and that's how I mastered it.